We're here.
We're here. What's up?
Oh, this is amazing. Brittany, I am so glad that I met you yesterday.
Yes.
Yes, it's been such an amazing experience. When I met you, I said, oh, my podcast is The Driven Introvert. And you're like, I'm an introvert. I'm like, yes, this is amazing. I should do an introvert counter here because there's so many people who say they're introverts. And I love that we're able to do this, have a podcast and come to something like this to meet other people and learn. So how's it been for you?
It's been amazing. This is my first time. If nobody knows where we're at podcast. We're doing a live podcast. And we're sitting in the booth and just having like fellowship together. When you told me about the introvert in me was just like celebratory. Like,
I know.
Yes, somebody who understands me.
I know.
But it's been a phenomenal time connecting with a lot of like-minded people.
Yeah.
And just so many great experiences. What's been like your top experience so far, or like lesson learned, or anything?
I think for me, because, and I'm going to talk about the introvert thing again, because it's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
I was telling somebody, I used to be an extreme introvert. Like, I would never do this. Like, maybe even like 3 years ago, I would talk myself out of coming to this conference because I would obsess over how will I meet people? What will I say? Like, I'll get tongue-tied. I won't have the words. Like, what am I going to do? And I'm going to stand by myself and nobody's going to want to talk to me. Like, all of those negative thoughts and limiting beliefs that I used to have. But being here, I think it's a testament to myself and to the fact that God is so good. When we let him do a work in us, anything is possible. So I'm just amazed at how much I've grown, through this process and being able to do this, which is why I'm passionate about, inspiring and encouraging other people, especially introverts, because so much is possible if we just let God do a work in us and not let the fear take over. So that's one thing. There's so many other things, that I've learned, but that's one thing. What about you?
I would say something similar. I'm going to share a little bit of a personal story.
Yeah.
It's a little vulnerable. So last year, God called me and he said, stop hiding. And I was like, oh, what are you talking about? I am not hiding. I'm out here waiting for my Boaz. Where is he? And I'm still kind of like grappling with that. And earlier this year, God just was really revealing kind of getting out of my own way and being like an introvert, I think does a number on a lot of us that we don't talk about. And we become very like proud in that moment of being an introvert and being the mountain. And so, there's scripture that talks about like, speak to the mountain and it will be able to move if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed. And when I think about that, of the faith of the size of a mustard seed, even breaking it down now, of like, if you were the mountain that's like you're needing to talk to, essentially, right? You have to have the faith to be able to move out of your own way to come out of the boat. And that's been like my biggest prayer this year of like, hey God, like help me get out of the boat. Let me be able to come when you say go, or to come out and trust me. And this Podfest has been very instrumental of watching God use me in ways that I'm like, okay, God, there's just been connections and things and doors, and I'm just excited for what 2025 will be when I get out of my way and say more yes and amen versus, oh God, I don't think so. Not me. Like who, me? Little me? Oh, Gideon? Like, Lord, let me.
I know.
Me, mighty warrior? No.
Prove it, Lord. If you're really sending me, prove it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love that. And I love the fact that you talked about like the introvert being your own mom. Like there's nothing wrong with being an introvert, but when you begin to let it hold you back, when you have excuses in your head for things that you even want to do, like all those years when I could not bring myself to attend something like this, did I want to do it?
No.
Yes. No, I wanted to.
Oh, you wanted to? Okay.
I wanted to, but the fear took over.
Yeah.
The fear.
What was the fear for you? Like, what's the moment? Like, I mean, everyone has their own fear, but what was like your worst, like worst set scenario? Like, what would have happened?
I know, it sounds crazy.
No, it's
me standing by myself, not
but
being able to talk to anyone. It's that's the thing. It's funny. I love to be by myself.
Yes.
I love to recharge by myself.
We like to read by ourselves, eat by ourselves. We like to do all things.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm with when I'm with people, when I'm with other people, I feel like a loser when I'm standing by myself, which is funny.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm not able to, especially if I want to. So if I'm in a room and I don't really care, I'm just there because I have to. I don't have a problem if nobody talks to me and I don't talk to anybody. But if I wanted to be there, I chose to be there, which means I want to connect with people. But then the fear is stopping me.
Yeah.
The anxiety is telling me, you don't have anything to say. Nobody's gonna listen to you.
Okay.
You don't have anything to give. So it's kind of complex when you think about it. But those were my biggest fears. Like, I'll just be standing in a corner and I'll be looking at everybody's talking to themselves and having fun and meeting, and I'll just be like, it's funny.
No. I mean, I get it, because I feel like there's value and there's a love, right? Of like not understanding your value, not understanding your worth, not feeling like really loved enough to just be yourself and just to sit in the, like, not sit in the presence, but like to be in someone's presence and not need to add value, not to be a solution, not to like provide a service. I think that that's so instrumental. But I also believe that when you think about like even your identity, right, of where it rested, and you know, the enemy just being obviously to come kill, steal, and destroy. And so he's like, hey, let me confuse your identity about yourself of what God has said, right? Like he's like, hey, like nobody loves you. You're not God. You ain't got nothing to say. You're not smart.
Oh my gosh. Oh
like,
my gosh. That is crazy. That we even believe these things is crazy. But I'm glad that I have grown so much out of that, and I want to help other people, you know, figure that out and know that that's not your story. That should not be the story in your head. And if it is, let's fix that, you know? So that's been amazing. Let's talk about the creative side of things.
Okay.
Tell me about your podcast.
Yes. So my podcast is called The Big Bold Faith. It is based on the book of Acts 4:12. And you see these ordinary men sitting before the Sanhedrin, and they saw that they were with Jesus, right? And having this boldness to declare a belief and a faith that others may have not. And it just being ordinary for a while, or not ordinary, but being bold for a while really meant for me to be like supernatural, right? Of being like, oh my gosh, like I've got to go on a mission trip tomorrow. And God really like downloaded to me again this year, just in Revelation of 2025 already, of saying, no, the bold is like what like just the confidence in what I've asked you to do just for today. And so if God is asking you, hey, just talk to that one person, be at this podfest, like it's not the, you know, the biggest thing on the mountain, but it's one step of believing and having faith in what he's already told you and who he is. And so it's continuously evolving, it's continuously changing. But that is the premise of the podcast, having mostly stories and wisdom and guidance that God has given me to give out as counsels. But I'm really looking forward to like connecting with other like-minded people like you, to bring people on the podcast to share their stories and their testimonies.
I love it. I love it. I was listening to your podcast yesterday.
Okay.
Yes, I listened to, I think it's the latest episode on there, and you talked about what happens when you've been praying, you've been trusting, nothing is happening, and you took us on a journey, you know, with the stories that you shared, and even the woman that, you know, talked to this guy. It's like, I've been trying to, you know, I want to get married and it's not happening. And I think a lot of people will resonate with that, because there's so many things, even if it's not that, even if it's not marriage, it's something. It's something that we've been praying about and trusting God for and trying to get to. For me, it was fertility. It was having a child. Because, I went through 9 years of infertility, and that was a journey. That was a journey. And I had to get to the point where I told God, okay, if it's not part of your plan for me, what do I do? Where do I go from here? I know I want kids, but if peradventure it's not part of your plan for me, like how do I handle that? Like, what do I do? And it was crazy, because I had to really think about it. And it was as if God was asking me, what happens if I never give you this? What happens if it's not part of my plan for you? Do you still love me? You know, will you still think I'm good? Am I still good? You know, and I had to grapple with that. And there were times that I couldn't easily say, oh yes, Lord, I know you're still good. Because like,
can we pause there for a moment?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I think that we get past that really, really like fast. And people that, I think of the people or the whoever decides like to listen, whether the believer or the non-believer, that there's this juxtapose of like understanding, like as the Christian or the believer, part of the way that it's okay. Saints, don't cancel me. There's an okay time. I think that's part of the faith process of getting to a point to be like, okay, God, like I have to settle with this. I have to be okay with like not believing in what I've been praying for, because the super saints essentially are going to be like, no, you have to keep declaring, you have to keep believing it. But can we be okay? Can we hold the tension with not believing and saying, you know, God, I don't have hope anymore in that season, but I think that too is working together for the good of those who love the Lord and called according to his purpose.
Yeah.
So I want to know more about like, how did you walk through that practically of like, okay, God, like I'm not hoping for it anymore. I'm like angry at you. Like, how do you wrestle with that? How do you tussle?
It was tough, and it's not a linear road. It's like a up and down, up and down, up and down. Today I think, okay, I don't know how to handle that. Tomorrow I think, okay, maybe I can keep living my life and still trust in you. Tomorrow I think, I don't know if you're good, God. I don't know. Like, I don't get it. I'm a little angry today. I'm a little saucy today. I'm salty today. Like, what is going on? So I think, like you said, we just have to be okay with that journey. We have to be okay with asking the hard questions and giving ourselves space. You know, because I believe that God loves us still. Even when we're struggling, even when we are angry with him, even when we walk away, he will always love us. That's a guarantee that we have.
That's Romans 8.
Yes.
There's nothing can separate us.
Nothing.
Neither calamity, like nothing, heaven or hell.
So we need to be okay.
Yeah.
We need to be okay with having those questions and give people, and like you said, saints, give people the space to go through their journey, to wrestle with God in their own way, and not try to help them by force. Like, you have to keep believing, Yes, believe. But if you're struggling with believing right now, it's okay. Ask the Holy Spirit to help you. You know, and he'll help you walk through that. I had to walk through that. But I got to the point where I thought to myself, I even had a plan, because I like to have a plan. I had a plan, and I thought to myself, okay, if I never have kids, it's going to be hard. And I know that there'll be seasons when I will feel it more than other times. During the holidays, I will feel it. When people are doing graduation for their kids, I will feel it. Things like that, right? So I need to be ready for those moments. I had a plan. I need to be ready for those moments when I'm older, much older, and I don't have kids, and, you know, my sister or my friends, you know, their kids are doing this and doing that or whatever. I need to be ready for those moments and figure out how to handle those moments. And other times, there'll be time, and you know how it is with kids. The truth is, if you don't have kids, you have an easier life, quote unquote. That's the truth. Because you don't have kids to cart around. You don't have somebody to worry about, 100% of the time, 24/7. You can do whatever you want to do. That's the truth, right? So in those times when I'm kid-free, I will be excited about the fact that I'm kid-free. And I'll go on vacations and do this and do that. But in those times when I will feel the emptiness, I need to have a plan to deal with that. I had a plan. I just, that's how I thought about it. But I had to come to the realization that I love you, Lord, and I will always love you because you've done more for me. I mean, you saved me. That alone, like, it cannot be compared to the fact that, I don't have a child. You get what I mean? So I had to come to that realization and say it out loud so that I could hear myself say it and believe it, that I'm good. It was hard. I'm good, even if it doesn't happen. My husband didn't like that, but that was what I came to. But yeah, I have a child today. I'm thankful for him. But I know the enormous responsibility it is, and I always ask God for strength to do right by him, and the blessing he's given me. So
that's resilient. That's like resilient faith.
I guess it is.
9 years is a long. When you were talking, I was just like, that's Sarah. That's Sarah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how long, but 9 feels like an eternity.
Yeah.
And especially in today's modern day where people are like, I can't get pregnant, which is, a very real subject and topic when, people are using alternate ways of getting pregnant. Like, was that like an option for you guys?
Oh, that's exactly what we did.
Okay.
That's exactly. And that was another, oh my God, that was another journey. because you think, oh, well, if I'm trusting God, why am I trying to do something else?
Okay, because I'm really trying to understand for the person that's not married, that has not kids. I'm like, God, is this demonic, or is this like you, or is this, and I'm like, I have to also think that he's the creator of everything, right? So every idea that comes out, whether we decide to use it for good or evil, came from the creator, the maker, right? He drops ideas in people's heads. What a wonderful thing that God still trusts. He doesn't just give believers ideas. He gives all of his children ideas. Now, whether you decide to follow, your fate is wherever you decide to. But I think I'm like, okay, God, like, even I know the saints are really kind of scared about ChatGPT, and I'm like, but God put that for a reason. Like, so God, how do I use this? Because everything can be like in a worship of idol. In some sense. We have food, we have our phones, we have our televisions, we got everything. You could sit there and watch 100 sermons, and you can idolize that person or that thing and not go. So it's like, how did you guys walk through that? Because I'm just curious, sitting on this side of the table. Like, I've thought of it like, I would just like let my body do what my body. I would put my anointing on. I would do whatever. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's not that spiritual girl. Maybe
oh my God. It was never too much of a struggle for me. I did think about it at some point, like, okay, if I'm trusting God, should I entertain like other methods of getting pregnant? But very quickly, I just let go of it, because I have the same perspective that you have. This is a blessing that God has made available, and if He's going to use this method, this is fine. Like, I didn't have too much of a struggle with it. Of course, at the beginning, because we all dream, this is the way you want things to happen, and I know that some people really, really struggle with it, and some people will not do it because they feel like it's like you're playing God, because you're like forcing something to happen that God didn't intend to happen. I guess everybody has their own perspective to it, but I didn't struggle too much, with it, and I trusted God that this was going to be the way. And this might be TMI, too much information, I don't know, but I never felt pregnant once.
You never felt pregnant?
I never got pregnant by myself, naturally. It never happened. It's never happened till today. And I've had like 4 different pregnancies. I lost 3 of them. That's another thing. 3 miscarriages.
I'll tell you, resilience. Hey, her name goes by Remi.
I know. 3 miscarriages, and I just kept believing and trusting that, God has a plan, and I'm okay to trust Him through the journey. So
that's a lot.
I know.
Not a lot in a bad way. It's just like, I want us as believers to talk more and bring things like into the light and just help the next generation. Because I grew up in a Baptist church, so I've always like believed in God in some form or fashion. And I was speaking to someone else earlier today of saying like, there's a lot of things that happen that I'm just not informed with. And I think that we can over spiritualize, overcomplicate things that are just very like, I think we overcomplicate God. And God's like, like, I'm the creator of everything, but he asked you to come in like childlike faith. And I'm like, childlike faith is not complex. It's curious, but it's not complex, where it's like, no, God would never say that, and God would never do that. It's just like looking at it through the eyes of the lens. And I'm like, God, how do we get back to that state where we're not overly judgmental? Well, so many times I have to put myself in check, and I have to have an accountability circle where I come and be like, girl, like, is it me, or is it really that deep? And it's usually like me and my own thoughts, especially when it comes to strongholds, because strongholds, sometimes people use that as discernment, and it's not discernment. It's a trauma-induced type of response that's based off of, something that you're still trying to break down. And so some people will use that and be like, oh yeah, I heard the Holy Spirit. And I'm very conscious of not saying, God told me, Holy Spirit. Like, if you're in my circle or my tribe, I trust people, but my goal is never to get on my podcast and be like, I had a, prophecy or a dream, unless God tells me. But I try to be very cautious for those those moments because I don't want to be in a position. I usually be like, I don't want the smoke from the Holy Spirit. Like that's usually my thing. But outside of my own selfishness, I don't want to put people in a position where they think that my words are like golden in a sense, right? Where it's like it's the rule, because people will come out with convictions and be like, oh, God told me that I'm not supposed to do pregnancy like that. Well, that's your personal conviction. But as far as for me in my house, like, God hasn't said that for me specifically. And so we have to be very cautious on how we make those rules, because then we end up like, I think it's Matthew 23, when you see the Pharisees and, Jesus is talking to them and saying like, like on the outside, you look beautiful, but on the inside you're like a dead grave essentially, and really kind of just like, okay, like let me check myself, because I'm still human. I still fall short of the glory every single day.
I love that. Perfect. Let us talk about business, entrepreneurship.
Oh, okay. Entrepreneur?
Yes. You have a business you've been running for 12 years. Tell me about that.
Yes. 12 years. Can we just like 1 plus 2
I know, right?
3, which means it's like complete. Entrepreneurship, it's becoming dear to my heart, which is wild, because back in the day, entrepreneurship was not entrepreneurship. It is very much glorified. A lot of people take it as a badge of honor, and I really take it as a position of servitude of everything that I do. And so whether that means I'm in a really big space or a small space, my goal is like, God, how am I serving your people, and whatever that looks like. So I might show up, I might pray, I might before, but it's been a very like difficult journey. It's needed me to be resilient at times, walking out things that I didn't understand, not having a business plan. I today don't have a business plan, y'all. I literally, it's like every time I sit down to do it, I'm just like, it's paper to me, but I function in a different way. And I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't have a business plan. I think that people should, and at least get the ideals set out, but being also okay with like abiding in God. I told you this about the other day of like letting God breathe through the business plan and change things. And that's anything in business. And so it's been fun. And, now God is, calling me to do new things and help other people, and honored that people actually like trust me in business. And my greatest thing is like, I've never had to market myself. God has always opened every single door for every opportunity. And I've had to find even peace with it. I mean, there's even this year, like I'm 12 years in, and you think like, oh, okay, your money should be right. Like, money right and tight. I've already had 2 clients cancel on me this year. And I'm just like, okay, God, it's your will. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Would I have been able to come to this podcast festival if I was doing that? No, because I usually put my work before other engagements. So again, allowing God to abide. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I always like when I hear people, and I know we talked about this yesterday when you say that, doing your own thing. Like when you said that, I looked to you like someone who would be like an independent, like, doing your own project. Yes. I think there's so much power in that. And I have a picture that God would put more in our hands when we are faithful with what He has given us. So when I find people who are entrepreneurs and really working out the business, even when it's hard, even when it's difficult, I respect that, because as someone who has always also been trying to do that, it is a lot. It's not a linear journey. It's like this mix of everything. You don't know what to expect. There's a lot of uncertainty. And my normal stance is I don't like uncertainty. I like to have a plan. I like to kind of know exactly what I'm doing. And I've had to be okay with living this way, like not knowing maybe this month I'm going to make this amount of money and the next month is going to be less, and the next, like, I never really liked that, but I'm okay with that now. It wasn't easy for me to kind of do that. And another thing that I think about is, and you've been consistently doing one thing for 12 years. I have struggled with that. I've struggled with doing one thing and just sticking with one thing. And it's funny, I told you I was recording a podcast yesterday night. I talked briefly about this, and I have examples of people that I look at them, I'm like, you've been doing the same thing for 8 years, for 12 years. That is amazing. I want to be like that. And now I feel like I found the one thing I want to do, that I want to really sink my teeth into, and it's podcasting. Yeah. It's podcasting because I enjoy it so much. Okay. I enjoy just being able to create something from my own like mind and creativity and all of that. But I also enjoy helping people do that. So I started a company in November last year, helping people launch their podcast. I don't know if I've told you this.
No.
Oh my God.
No, we did not talk about this.
Yeah, I started a company doing that. So I have been sort of marketing and figuring out, how to make that work. But I'm excited about that, So yeah, that's been business for me. It's good. It's hard.
And how long have you been an entrepreneur?
I would say, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got some miles in you.
I have, but it's just like it's like choppy miles, like because I never stick with one thing. Like
that's not what I asked you though. I said entrepreneurship.
Yes,
okay.
2015.
Okay.
Because I remember I started a first business in 2015. That was the first time I registered a business, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this seriously.
Yeah.
And then I did that, and I get one thing I learned is I've learned the things that I don't want to do, and sometimes you don't learn that until you do things.
Yeah.
You do it first, and you realize, okay, that was good, but I'm never going to do it again.
Yeah.
Because I did a business that required me to ship stuff to people, like products, and t-shirts, and art and stuff like that. Now I know that that's not my thing. I don't want to do a physical goods kind of business. Mm-hmm. If I ever do, it'll be maybe an offshoot of something else. It won't be the main thing, because I want something that can scale easily without me having to run to the post office to ship things to people. I realize the things that I don't want to do, but I realize that I want to work in the knowledge space, the creative space and all of that. So which is why I started a company doing that. So I'm excited about the journey, and I just want to keep learning and growing.
What's been your most difficult task when it comes to entrepreneurship, or not task, but part of the journey, or questions, or self-doubt, or what and I don't want to project on that specifically, but what has been the hardest thing when it comes to entrepreneurship?
I think it's getting I don't want to say not marketing, because marketing is the process of kind of getting the message out. It's getting people to see the value in what you're doing and want to work with you. So it's finding clients. Let me just use simple language. Yeah. It's finding clients.
Okay.
It's getting people to buy the products, getting people to sign up for the courses, getting people to show up for the classes. It's the thing. Okay. It's the thing that has to, because if you don't have clients, you don't have a business.
No.
So that's the crucial part. And the part of my business that I've done so many things. I told you about my graphic design business.
Yes.
That has worked.
Yes.
I've been able to, have clients. That's still what I do today. Mainly, and I'm trying to branch out into other things. But the other things, getting people, to kind of see the value of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I know that there's probably a knowledge gap somewhere for me, something that I need to learn, which is why I keep learning, which is why I come to things like this, so that you can learn and grow. But that's been the hardest part for me, to be honest.
How have you practically been able to shift and to find clients? Because I can't really speak from, I guess I'll kind of tell my story of how it happened, but I'm curious to know your journey as far as because I know a lot of entrepreneurs are that way. They're okay, I have the business plan, I have everything set up, but the money's not coming in.
Yeah.
I'm believing for God for this. Where do I look for it? I've pitched it this way. What has been that change?
I think one thing is figuring out how to be out there in a way that I'm findable, in a way that people can find me. Okay. Because we have a misconception sometimes when you're I'm looking for clients. Well, how are you searching for clients? Yeah. Are you cold calling? Are you cold emailing? Are you just reaching out? That's a volume game, and you're going to have to do a lot of that for you to find people. Mm-hmm. But one hack, or someone call it a hack, a shortcut is being findable. Okay. Which is basically creating content. Okay. And being out there. Okay. Being on social, as much as it might be I don't want to do that, but you have to. It's just the way things are.
It is.
Yeah, it's the way things are. You have to create content that people find valuable, and they will find you that way. Which is another thing that having the podcast has really, really helped me to do. And being more consistent. Last year, I took a challenge class on personal branding, and the guy that taught the class, gave us a roadmap on how to create content, the very practical things that you need to think about, how often should you post, what kind of things can you post and stuff like that. And that has really been helpful. So for me, I've learned to do more of that. be more active and social.
Yeah.
And I've been able to get people interested in my work, to like sign up for things, and all of that. So that has helped. So that's one big shift, that I had to do. And for so many years, I'm like, I don't know, like I don't like to be out there. I don't know what to say, but I've learned, which is why, taking the class and learning, being a consistent student and learning how to do things right has really helped me. So that's one big shift for me. That I had to do.
I think that's super important. Like that's like getting out of your own way, right?
Yeah.
And I think also there's like a disconnect that needs to happen when establishing your value and thinking that if you're posting every day and you're not getting likes, you're not getting hearts, you're not getting comments, that you're not tying your worth or your value to that. And I think that really is something everyone struggles with, like believer or non-believer. You're out here like, oh, dang. I've been posting and, we're here and we're learning all these things about like YouTube and consistency and the algorithms. And of course, I don't really, I see the algorithms, but I've gotten things happen that don't make no sense.
Yeah.
And I'll just be like, okay, God, then you're in the algorithms. My only thing is to obey, right? My only thing is to be consistent, is to keep showing up. And then you will be faithful because I was faithful in what you called me to do. And so that's your word. And that's what I get the chance to come back and petition to you and be like the widow that was like unjust, just banging on the door, like justice. And I'm like, I can petition to your courts, God. And I think of Esther of that, of just like going before the king and presenting, and he's like, what is it that you want? I'll give you up to half of the kingdom and all of those things. And so I think that really that speaks milestones for the person to just keep going.
To keep going. And his name is Omar, the guy that taught the challenge class. He said something that really stuck with me. He said there's something called silent engagement. So you might feel like, nobody's commenting, nobody's liking and stuff, but people see if you're consistent. Not like you do it once and forget about it.
Okay.
If you're consistent, people are seeing it.
Okay.
And then sometimes, and I've actually had that happen, that people I know that create like a course or like a class or something, and they've been posting about it, and you don't see comments, you don't see engagement, but then people signed up. So sometimes people don't like, hey, I'm going to sign up. No, they just go sign up.
Yeah.
So sometimes it happens. You just have to be consistent. If you give up, then what do you have? So that's the thing. To just encourage anyone out there listening. If you feel like, you're out there in this social media streets and you're doing everything and it's not working, just keep going.
And I want to encourage the person to think like, oh my goodness, it's such a saturated market. There's three people that can come to mind. I think of Albert Einstein and creating the light, and him finding like, position in a way of like, there's 1,000 ways of like not, that's not how you create light, right? So like changing your perspective. I think of George Washington Carver of having I think it's 300 ways to use the peanut, because he was faithful and to continue, but also was like a man of God of like having moments with it. And then there's, Steve Jobs, of course. So like seeing that, and I think I struggle with this because I deal with a little bit of perfectionism. Some people would say excuses, but I'm about to label it. Do not shame me or condemn me, but essentially seeing the finished product. And so I think of and maybe Steve Jobs also, because I think he was also a perfectionist of seeing that end goal, right? So we're on like, I don't know, iPhone 10, 12, 13, or 14, but when it had started, it's 1. If you guys can only imagine like how much we didn't have. We did not have our songs linked to the phone. There was no Instagram. You get on the internet and call your mama, and
that's it.
And now we're light years away, but it's because of his like just completing something. And so in this season, I'm really working on just like finishing it. It's not perfect. I want to go back and redo it. I want to retake. I want to redo the test. But my goal is like, gosh, is like complete the work. Like finish the race. Like you might come in at 30 minutes a mile. Oh my gosh. But finish the marathon. Finish the 5K. Finish the 10K.
I guess I can talk to you all day, Brittany. This is amazing. But I love that we can end on that note. And something for the people to take away is finish. Finish, be consistent, don't give up. If God has really given you instructions, a desire, skills to use, talents and gifts, use it. Do the thing, do the work. Don't be afraid of what's not happening on your own timeline, what you're expecting and you're not getting. Just keep doing the work, and God will be faithful to just give you grace to get where you're going. So
obedience is key, and so is also finishing.
Absolutely.
What do you? I'm going to put you on the spot.
All right.
What are you finishing this year?
What am I finishing?
What are you going to choose to finish this year?
Oh my God! Well, I'm starting something. So I'm starting something, and I really want to sink my teeth into it, and I want to finish it. So I'm doing the research. I told you about this. I'm doing the research right now for podcasting communities. I want to create a podcasting community, and it's something that I got the idea, and I sat with it even for like 3 weeks before I told my husband, because usually I have a bias toward action. I'll just go ahead and do it. But I wanted to sit with it. I wanted to test it out. I wanted to feel it out and see if it's something I really want to do. And I went to God if it's something He wants me to pursue. And I got that confirmation. So I want to work on that. Yeah. So that's the thing I want to finish this year. It's not like it's going to get finished this year, but I want to start.
You know what I mean?
I want to. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah. I want to really do it and not give excuses and just work it out. So yeah, that's me. What about you?
Boy, okay. Me and my type A self will have a whole finish list of like multitudes of things, but I'm trying to keep it simple. I think really focusing on this new business and idea that God has like really kind of given me of stepping out and just being, consistent to the end, right? Of showing up as best as I can possibly, right? And also giving myself grace, because I'm usually hard on myself. I'm like, God, I didn't give it 100% today. I was like, I didn't ask for 100% today. I asked for 10% today. There's a Atomic Habits, and it talks about like not having any 0 days. And when I first got here, I was up till 12 a.m. And someone was like, why did you go to the gym today? I said, I was up till 12 a.m. What are you talking about? And they're like, you should at least went for like 10 minutes, right? Just from the consistency perspective. And so that's my goal of how do I become consistent every single day? It might not look like, doing a podcast every single day. It might not be, a fully, 5 different social media platforms or posts or the things I want to do, but maybe it's just like writing the one sentence for, inspiration, encouragement, or just the script. But I showed up every single day. And so I'm like, Lord, let me continue to show up, because Lord, you've never stopped showing up for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Brittany.
Thank you. And where can the people find you, my dear?
Yeah. So I am on Instagram at Remi Roy. Okay. And my podcast is The Driven Introvert. And yes, that's me.
Okay. And you guys can of course find me at Big Bold Faith as far as Instagram goes, and a newly launched YouTube channel as of the later part of last year, as we continue to just keep moving and striving forward to what God has called us in this season. So
all right. Awesome.
Thank
you so much.
Bye.